Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to welcome everyone to our session on heritage and socio-economic development in Africa, organized in collaboration with the African Union and the Economic Commission for Africa, and us, the Heritage Management Organization, under the auspices of the Greek Foreign Ministry. This session was planned in a fairly grave backdrop, which is that the strategic documents of the EU that have been prepared after the consultation between the EU and states of the African Union and states in Africa have concluded that heritage, tourism, sustainable development, local communities are largely excluded from the next 7 years of funding in the European Union. And so this is an effort to actually showcase the importance of heritage for social and economic development in the continent, but of course, all over the world. And of course, as a contrast to that, this comes as a more optimistic note. This comes in the context of a joint collaboration between the Economic Commission for Africa and the Heritage Management Organization in capacity building in heritage management throughout the continent. And you will hear more about that from Vera Songwe in a bit. And of course, that builds on a current project that we're working with INTPA in the Gambia, that's again funding capacity building, and there we will be collaborating with UNECA as well. So we ask ourselves, why are we going to see such a kind of negative landscape in the next 7 years? And of course, one of the answers is that, nobody is particularly to blame, but of course, one of the things that we can do is look at our responsibility in the field as professionals and try and explain to ourselves that we haven't been perhaps doing a very good job in showcasing the importance of heritage for developing society and economy. And of course, that is actually a very grave issue, because of course, if we cannot showcase our impact in the world, the impact of our work in the world, then we cannot actually expect others to do that for us. And so this is the greater reason behind organizing this event, to try and remedy that a little bit and explain that heritage is not a sector that is just receiving money, as it may be often seen by governments, but is actually a sector that has endless things to offer to society, to economic development, and so on. So we are going to hear a lot of different case studies today from different parts of the continent for the first time. Some projects have been supported generously by outside sources, some others have not. And so it's actually really interesting to see the wide array of impacts that heritage has had in the continent. And so we have gathered here today a large array of experts who are contributing with their work. So let's see that event as a beginning of a discussion. But let us also make sure that in the future we are more vocal, and at the end we will discuss perhaps ways that we can be more vocal in supporting the cause of heritage for Africa. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Ms. Angela Martens, who is the head of the Culture Division and the Department of Health, Humanitarian Affairs and Social Development of the African Union Commission from 2014. And she's our main correspondent in the African Union, as she is coordinating the efforts of the 2021 African Year of Arts, Culture and Heritage levers for building the Africa we want. Angela is leading a number of most important schemes, quite a lot of which are actually relevant to our discussion here, such as the Charter for African Cultural Renaissance, the African Union Plan of Action on Cultural and Creative Industries, the African Union Model Law on the Protection of Cultural Property and Heritage, as well as the main African Union Framework for Development of the African Union Agenda 2063, which has a specific aspiration for arts, culture, and heritage. So Angela does advocacy for the ratification and implementation of these continental policies among AEU member states, as well as working with Pan-African cultural institutions and partners for their promotion and implementation. So it's actually a great pleasure to have Angela speak to us today, and we will hear from her now. Hi, Angela.
Hi, Evangelos. Good afternoon. Thank you for the introduction. I hope you can hear me. Okay, thank you. Allow me, on behalf of the African Union Commission, to start by expressing gratitude to Heritage Management Organization for the initiation of this important event on heritage and socio-economic development in Africa. I wish also to thank all the speakers that are going to join us in this conversation. For us at the AU Commission, our work on the protection, profiling, and promotion of heritage is in the following areas. At policy level, by engaging with our main partner on the continent on heritage issues, the African World Heritage Fund, and also through partnerships with international organizations, including UNESCO, ICRC, ICROM, UNECA, Heritage Management, amongst others. In terms of policy development, you heard from Evangelos, the AU has developed the AU Model Law on the Protection of Cultural Property and Heritage, an instrument which is aimed at assisting AU member states in strengthening and developing their legislative frameworks in the areas of protection of heritage. The model law was recently approved by the 40th session of the Executive Council of the African Union, which was held here in Addis Ababa on the 2nd and 3rd of February. The process of development of this instrument started way back in 2015, and then it was endorsed by the Ministers of Youth, Culture and Sport in 2018, and from there, recently endorsed by the Executive Council. The model law sets out provisions for the protection of any cultural property and heritage against any form of violation, including trafficking and illicit transactions, theft, damage, destruction, or disfiguration caused either intentionally or negligently by unauthorized export or commercial or non-commercial transactions involving cultural property and heritage. Also, in line with the protection of cultural property and heritage, the AU, in collaboration with the government of the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria, are in the process of establishing the Great Museum of Africa as a specialized agency of the African Union and the flagship project of the AU Agenda 2063. The GMA is aimed at redressing historical openings by providing relevant alternative narratives through the collections to be sourced from AU member states. It is a continuous effort to conserve both tangible and intangible cultural heritage. The Great Museum of Africa is expected to also initiate negotiations on the return or restitution of illicitly trafficked cultural property, which most of them were appropriated through violence and looting as a result of instability or conflicts in the continent. Another instrument at continental level, which we are currently drafting, is the Common African Position on the Restitution of Heritage Resources. As you might be aware, we are one of the continents which is suffering from illicit trafficking of cultural property. Heritage resources have been stolen and illicitly trafficked from Africa, and the proposed common African position on restitution of heritage resources is aimed at assisting member states in dealing with the issue of illicit trafficking of cultural goods in a coordinated and comprehensive manner. With the African World Heritage Fund, the AU is part of their Board of Trustees, and we have a strong collaboration in the work that they are doing, mainly related to capacity building on heritage protection, resource mobilization initiatives for heritage protection and conservation on the continent, amongst others. In line with the implementation of the AU Theme of the Year for 2021, which is Arts, Culture and Heritage, Levers for Building the Africa We Want, we have jointly organized various engagements with the international partners, including UNESCO, ICRC, and Heritage Management Organization. Evangelos mentioned the training efforts that we are doing for AU member states in collaboration with the Heritage Management Organization and also in collaboration with UNECA. I heard when we were in the breakout sessions that some of the speakers here were part of this training, and we are proud of that. We see that the efforts of both the Heritage Management Organization, UNECA, and AU are bearing fruits because we are having this capacitated people already engaging in issues related to heritage. Since the implementation of the activities in the roadmap of the Theme of the Year for 2021, we implemented various activities, including also a workshop which we held last year online with ICRC and other partners in order to promote further issues related to heritage. Finally, with regards to strengthening collaboration between the AU and EU, we would like to call upon for more engagements with the EU in this regard. In the past, we used to have a strong collaboration with the EU in the area of arts, culture, and heritage. In fact, the AU model law on the protection of cultural property and heritage is part of those efforts. In 2014, from 2014 to 2017, the AU and EU commissioned a study of all cooperation activities with regards to cultural goods, which was undertaken by a consortium of experts, and the model law was one of the recommendations of this study. So we hope that through engagements like the one we are having today, and a few days back, we had another engagement with the EU colleagues on the creative economy. We hope that we will be able to strengthen this collaboration and ensure that really issues on arts, culture, and heritage are brought back to the table so that together we can find better ways in order to promote this important sector for socio-economic development. I think for now, this is all that I would like to share, and thank you for your kind attention.
The Executive Secretary of the UN Economic Commission for Africa, with whom we are working on this, but more importantly, for the particular purpose of this workshop, of this event, she's an economist through and through, has done 3 degrees in economics in different areas of economics, and a PhD in economics. She has worked for the World Bank, the International Finance Corporation, and is currently the United Nations Undersecretary General for Africa, and as I said, the Executive Secretary of the Economic Commission for Africa. So her words bear particular weight when it comes to the economic importance that heritage has for the development of the African continent. Now, Vera Songwe, as an Executive Secretary, has focused her reforms on developing and implementing the ideas for a prosperous Africa agenda And these have emphasized the critical importance of macroeconomic stability, innovative finance, private sector privatization, and the digital transformation, trade competitiveness in fostering growth and improving livelihoods. And as you see, that agenda now is including heritage. And I think this is a particular testament to our efforts to showcase the importance of heritage for economic development and, of course, for social development, as we will hear later on. So it's a great honor to have her here, and it has been a great honor working with her in the past 18 months in our capacity building program. So Vera.
Heritage on the African continent is intrinsically linked to tourism. Today, we see that most African countries are getting additional resources from tourism. Tourism is growing faster than GDP growth in many countries, averaging about 8%. Of course, when we talk about tourism, we also talk about heritage because people travel to see countries' history. Increasingly, heritage management has taken an important role in many of African economies. We see huge increases in tourism in countries like Morocco, Ethiopia, Benin, South Africa, of course, Cameroon, Botswana, and many others. The question is, how does Africa organize itself to manage its heritage assets, to ensure that they are protected, to ensure that people know about it? In addition, with COVID-19, we have also seen a huge rise in intra-African tourism. As a matter of fact, intra-African tourism in East Africa and in West Africa is much higher than tourism from outside of those regions. So again, clearly people are looking to understand better their heritage. In Ghana, for example, there's a lot more tourism towards the ancient slave trail. We see that the GDP per capita per person in Ghana, for example, is $2,000, and 1.7% of the economy is employed in the tourism sector. In Benin, 1.6% of the economy is employed in the tourism sector. In Senegal, that number goes up to 2.9, and in Morocco is all the way up to 5.4. So clearly, there is a huge gap between what Africa is getting from its tourism and what Africa could get. In countries like Greece that have perfected the tourism sector, GDP in the tourism sector and employment in the tourism sector is over 10%. So if you compare the 1.7% in Ghana, 1.6% in Benin, 2.9% in Senegal, and 5.4% employment in the tourism sector to 10% in Greece, we see that Africa still has a huge road to travel. The good news is that, as I said in the beginning, there is more interest in Africa's heritage by Africans, first of all, but by the rest of the world. The vision, therefore, for the African continent is to see whether we can reach 10% growth of our GDP in the tourism sector, or if the tourism sector could contribute to 10% of our GDP. This is the vision that we are hoping that many countries that have already laid out a tourism strategy and heritage management strategy can embark on. What do they need to do this? Of course, we need a lot of capacity building. We need to be able to differentiate products. Gorée Island, of course, is very different from a tourism site in Africa, in Cameroon, or in Ghana. And so we do need to ensure that there is enough knowledge about what is different about each of the sites in Benin, of course, in Ethiopia, in Kenya, to ensure that as tourists come, they don't get the same conversations or the same offer in all of these destinations. We're also trying, of course, to look at intra-African tourism. Yes, we all know that you could do nature tourism between Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, and all the way down to Namibia. What we're trying to do is do the same thing on a heritage perspective, from a heritage perspective, across multiple countries. This is also what the African Continental Free Trade Area is about. It's all of this intra-African trade and tourism, of course, is an export. So we would like to do that in a much more comprehensive way, maybe by sub-region or maybe by theme. Economic development must go through services. Today, Africa's GDP is made up of 51% of the service sector. In many countries, it is also the tourism sector that is growing. The tourism sector, of course, creates a lot more jobs for women. 60% of the jobs in the tourism sector in Europe, for example, are done by women. And so we believe that this is another venue for local arts and crafts, for design, for nature conservation that happens around the tourism sector. So again, this is not just an industry that takes care of our history and our heritage, but it also ensures that women participate in the benefits of it. The Economic Commission for Africa is working, of course, with the African Union, with the Heritage Management Organization, to pilot a couple of initiatives in some countries to see how we can take this concept further, build it, strengthen it, and enhance the benefit of tourism on the continent. As of now, we're planning to pilot in Benin, Ethiopia, and Gambia, but also continuing to Senegal, Ghana, and Botswana, with a view to bringing heritage management capacity across the continent. We can only get more revenue out of this if we actually invest in it upfront, and that's what we're hoping that we will be able to do. The Economic Commission for Africa is therefore hoping that the European Union, as we meet in this EU-Africa Summit, can also look at heritage management as a way of providing jobs for our youth, as a way of ensuring that Africa grows collectively, but grows based on its own heritage, as Europe, we've seen many countries in Europe, of course, do, creating a lot of revenue and resources from their heritage management sites. We note that the conversations in Europe this week do not have a lot of a heritage management or a lot of a tourism component to them. Of course, the Global Gateway is looking at ICT and ICT development and some infrastructure, but there is a different and very specific kind of infrastructure that we need for heritage management. Some of it is capacity building, some of it is refurbishing our cultural sites, as we're doing in some countries like Benin, Ethiopia, and Kenya, but a lot more is needed, and we hope that the European Union can spare some time to look at this and fund heritage management as part of Africa's recovery strategy in a sustainable way. Thank you.